Most people assume discipline is a matter of strength, of forcing yourself to do what you hate until the pain eventually becomes purpose. We grow up hearing that the disciplined are heroes of willpower, people who wake up every day ready to wrestle with resistance and win. But the truth is quieter, more uncomfortable, and far more liberating. Your brain was never built for discipline. It was built for survival. Every cell, every circuit inside your skull was designed to keep you alive with as little effort as possible. That is why you hit snooze. That is why scrolling feels easier than studying. That is why comfort feels like safety and progress feels like danger. It is not a moral failure. It is evolution at work. For most of human history, wasting energy meant dying sooner. Conserving energy meant living long enough to reproduce. What we call laziness today was efficiency yesterday. The modern world has changed faster than our biology, and somewhere between the savannah and the smartphone, the instincts that once saved us began to sabotage us. Your brain still obeys ancient laws. The limbic system, the part that seeks pleasure and avoids pain, is far older than the prefrontal cortex, the rational voice that plans, organizes, and dreams. The limbic brain speaks first. It whispers in urges, in impulses, in subtle emotional nudges that pull you toward ease. The cortex speaks second. It reasons, explains, promises that tomorrow will be different. Every act of discipline is a negotiation between these two layers, between instinct and intention, and the older part almost always wins. Neuroscientists call this the principle of cognitive ease. The brain prefers whatever feels familiar, fast, and effortless. It does not judge whether an action is good or bad, productive or destructive. It only measures the metabolic cost. Thinking deeply burns more glucose than repeating a habit. Planning a workout drains more fuel than watching another video. To the survival brain, thinking is danger. Familiarity is safety. That is why change feels so heavy. Each time you attempt something new, you are not simply learning a skill. You are overriding millions of years of pattern recognition that equate comfort with survival. The discomfort you feel is not weakness. It is your biology resisting uncertainty. This is why motivation fades so quickly. Motivation is an emotional surge produced when your brain anticipates a quick reward. But the moment effort extends beyond the reward window, the emotional energy collapses. You feel like you have failed, when in fact, you have simply reached the edge of your natural programming. Most people live their entire lives inside that edge, calling themselves undisciplined, when really, they are just untrained in manipulating the machinery of their own mind. The conflict between the ancient brain and the modern world grows louder each year. We live in a dopamine economy. Every notification, advertisement, and algorithm is built to hijack your reward system. Each click, each like, each flash of novelty releases a tiny chemical pulse that says, "Good job, you survived." The problem is that this system was never meant to fire constantly. Dopamine was supposed to push a hunter to chase the next meal, not the next scroll. When you open an app and lose an hour, it is not because you lack self-control. It is because a trillion-dollar industry figured out how to weaponize your survival instinct. The world you live in today is not neutral. It competes for your attention as fiercely as predators once competed for your flesh. Now, imagine trying to build discipline in that environment. You are told to resist temptation while being surrounded by an architecture of distraction. You are told to focus while every device around you bleeds light and sound designed to interrupt you. You were told to be consistent while the world around you rewards inconsistency with endless novelty. You begin to feel guilty for being human. You try harder, buy planners, download habit trackers, fill journals with intentions. But every night, you end up scrolling again, promising that tomorrow will be different. Tomorrow arrives, and the cycle repeats. It feels personal, but it isn't. You are trying to fight an opponent that lives inside you and around you. The brain that once feared lions now fears discomfort, and discomfort is exactly where growth lives. So how do you outsmart a system older than civilization itself? The answer is not brute force. The answer is design. James Clear wrote, "You do not rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems." The disciplined are not stronger. They are better architects of behavior. They have learned that you cannot overpower biology, you can only reroute it. To outsmart the brain, you must use its own rules against it. Rule 1. The brain takes the path of least resistance. Therefore, make the right choice the easiest choice. Remove friction from the behaviors that move you forward, and add friction to the ones that pull you back. Put your running shoes next to your bed, not in the closet. Keep healthy food in plain sight and hide the junk food. Turn off notifications instead of promising you'll ignore them. The brain does not care about moral strength. It cares about convenience. Rule 2. The brain learns through association. Every habit is built on a cue, a routine, and a reward. When you brush your teeth, the cue is waking up, the routine is brushing, and the reward is the fresh sensation that signals completion. If you want to add a new habit, attach it to one that already exists. After coffee, open your journal. After locking the door, repeat your intention for the day. This is habit stacking, a simple but powerful way to embed new actions into old neural pathways. You are not forcing discipline. You are reprogramming default settings. Rule 3. Reward early, not eventually. The brain responds to immediate reinforcement. If you wait for big milestones to feel good, you teach your mind that effort equals emptiness. Instead, celebrate After writing for 10 minutes, stand up, breathe, and acknowledge the act. After a workout, enjoy the sense of completion, not the guilt of imperfection. This small, consistent reward loop rewires dopamine from passive consumption to active creation. Over time, the brain begins to crave the satisfaction that comes from effort itself. That is how you make discipline addictive. Rule 4. Identity precedes action. Most people try to change behavior while still believing they are the same person who fails. Real transformation happens when action becomes proof of a new self. You are not forcing yourself to read. You are becoming a reader. You are not dragging yourself to the gym. You are confirming that you are someone who trains. Every repetition is a vote for the identity you wish to embody. The brain follows belief. When you change who you think you are, discipline ceases to feel like effort. It becomes expression. As these systems take root, something subtle begins to happen. The resistance that once paralyzed you begins to lose its voice. The brain starts to interpret discipline not as danger, but as safety. The reward system, once hijacked by instant gratification, starts to link pleasure with progress. You begin to feel a strange calm when working, a quiet satisfaction in consistency. This is the moment when discipline transforms from punishment into peace. You realize that structure does not imprison you. It frees you. Every small act of organization, every repeated behavior removes uncertainty, and uncertainty is what the primitive brain truly fears. By creating order, you give your mind something it can trust. When you stop fighting yourself, your energy returns. The mental noise of guilt and shame dissolves. You no longer spend half your willpower negotiating with your own impulses. That energy becomes available for creation, learning, connection. Discipline, when properly designed, is not self-oppression. It is self-liberation. You are not crushing instinct, you are harmonizing it with intention. The disciplined life is simply the life in which your goals and your environment no longer contradict each other at this point. Something even deeper emerges, a shift in identity. The question changes from how can I force myself to do this, to who am I becoming through doing this. Identity-based discipline is sustainable because it aligns effort with meaning. When you train, you are not just sculpting your body, you are sculpting integrity. When you study, you are not collecting information, you are honoring curiosity. When you wake up early, you are not chasing productivity, you are choosing clarity. Every act becomes a reflection of character, not a test of endurance. But let us return to the beginning. The brain still hates discipline. It always will. The limbic system will never stop craving comfort. The trick is not to silence it, but to redirect it. Give it comfort in the ritual itself. Turn your habits into safe havens rather than battles. Make the workspace inviting. Make the exercise playful. Make the study session aesthetic. The brain cannot tell the difference between a threat removed and a reward gained. Both release relief. If you wrap effort in pleasure, the brain will follow. That is how you hack evolution. As you continue, the feedback loop strengthens. Discipline produces results. Results reinforce identity. Identity fuels consistency. Consistency generates trust in yourself. And trust is the real reward. When you trust yourself, procrastination loses power because you no longer fear disappointment. The most powerful form of motivation is self-trust. The quiet knowing that you will do what you said you would do, even when no one is watching. It's not loud. It's not dramatic. It's steady, like a heartbeat. The world will still tempt you. There will always be noise, always another easier path. But once you understand the machinery of your mind, temptation becomes transparent. You start to see it for what it is, a loop of cheap rewards that once controlled you but now amuse you. You can still enjoy them, but they no longer own you. You have outgrown the primitive software. The hunter has evolved. The weapon is awareness. Eventually, discipline becomes a kind of meditation. You wake, you move, you create, you rest, not because you must, but because it feels right. The distinction between work and rest fades. Each moment carries purpose. You begin to appreciate repetition as a rhythm, not a restriction. Like a musician practicing scales, the beauty lies in the repetition itself. The process becomes art. The brain, once your enemy, becomes your instrument, and this is where the deeper truth reveals itself. Discipline is not the opposite of freedom. It is the foundation of it. Chaos promises choice, but it steals control. Structure limits choice, but it grants direction. The more you refine your systems, the more mental space you free for creativity, connection, and calm. True freedom is not the absence of rules, it is living by rules. You designed yourself as days turn into weeks. You notice that the voice that once screamed, "I don't want to," has quieted into a whisper. The path of least resistance has changed direction. It now points toward the behaviors that serve you. The brain has learned that the gym is not danger but renewal, that reading is not labor but nourishment, that planning is not restriction but peace. You have effectively re-evolved yourself. You are no longer running from discomfort, you are guided by it. Every moment of resistance becomes a signal pointing toward growth. Somewhere along this path, you realize that discipline was never about controlling behavior. It was about understanding yourself deeply enough to design for your nature rather than against it, to know your weaknesses intimately, to anticipate them, and to build structures that make strength automatic. That is mastery. The disciplined mind is not the mind that never falls. It is the mind that has built railings for when it does. There will still be days when you lose focus, when the limbic brain takes over and you drift back into distraction. That is natural. The goal is not perfection. It is realignment. Systems are there to catch you when motivation fails. Habits are the safety nets of identity. Every time you return, you strengthen the neural pathway that defines who you are. Discipline, then, is less about control and more about return. The act of coming back to what matters. When you understand this, self-criticism fades. You begin to see your mind as an ecosystem, not a battlefield. The lazy impulse, the productive urge, the craving, the resistance, they are all parts of the same organism trying to keep you alive. You stop hating those parts. You start negotiating with them. You learn their language, their triggers, their fears. And when you do, you no longer need to fight your brain. You simply lead it. This is the quiet revolution of It is not glamorous. It is not loud. It happens in silence, when you choose to begin, again and again, until beginning becomes habit, and habit becomes identity. At that point, discipline ceases to be something you practice. It becomes something you are. The journey ends where it began, with understanding. Your brain will always seek comfort, but you can redefine what comfort means. Make progress comfortable. Make growth familiar. Make effort safe. Then, discipline no longer feels like rebellion against your nature. It feels like the fulfillment of it. You were not born to live in conflict with your own mind. You were born to understand it, to shape it, to evolve it. Outsmarting your brain is not about domination. It is about partnership. And when you and your biology finally move in the same direction, there is nothing left to resist. Only momentum. If this changed the way you think, subscribe to Mental Sovereign. Because here, we don't chase motivation. We master the mind.